Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Great Men Taking Over the World. It's your boy Ren here, and I'm coming back to you with another Christmas type episode. I just got this cool gift from my girlfriend, thanks a lot Kaya, and I just wanted to show it to you guys. I'm kind of late to the party, it's been out for a while, but I was pretty excited, you know, I just kind of was craving some retro stuff, so let's check it out. Got myself here, the Super Nintendo Classic Edition.
So I've been in the mood to play retro games since I've been playing mostly modern ones lately, or retro games that I've already played before, like on some of our streams. It's cool to go back to the 16-bit era and jam out to some old school games that I've never played before. It feels like experiencing the second half of the 90s gaming scene, as me and my brothers had a Genesis growing up and not a Super Nintendo. There was this huge rivalry between Genesis and Super Nintendo back in the day. It was epic. Ah, the good old days. Of course I played Super Nintendo here and there, like in in-store kiosks, and I did have friends who had the system, and even my brother bought one in the early 2000s when I already had a Dreamcast, but at that time I really didn't care for old retro games much. We only had a few games on it, but we barely played it. I sometimes get a little tired of modern games since everything is just so huge and time consuming, everything's an open world. Everything has this huge long tutorial in the beginning, endless downloading, installing. Man, I miss the days of just picking up a controller, turning on the system, and playing a game. So here we are, eh? I had a retro itch, and I just had to scratch it. And so, lo and behold, my lovely girlfriend got me one this last Christmas, and it was great opening it up, bringing back memories of opening up cool gaming presents of past Christmases as a kid. It was awesome. Thanks, babe. Then I sat and played it late into the night next to the Christmas tree, drinking some hot cocoa. Man, that was fucking great.
Nostalgia wrapped up in a small box here.
Now, let's see what this bad boy is all about, shall we? Okay, so there's like a million unboxing and spec videos on this device, so I'm not going to go into excruciating detail here, but I'm just going to mention a few things real quick. So this thing is tiny as hell, as you can see here, but it's so adorable. Just look at that little SNES Mini. You can't put any of the old cartridges in it, but the power button works, and so does reset. Reset will take you back to the game menu and also works as a save state, so you can save your progress at any point in a game, making some of these tougher games a lot more tolerable. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. 21 games are on this bad boy, selected by Nintendo themselves, and look great in HD running at 720p. Of course, it comes with two classic Super Nintendo controllers, but there's no modern features on it in case you were wondering, so you have to get up off your lazy ass to reset the system like the old days. I really like the fun menu system, the layout and design look great. The music really adds to the whole Nintendo vibe here, I love it. I actually even love just the box packaging, it's retro and nostalgic of that era. This little device is a nice piece of video game history. It is nice, I like it. Great job, Nintendo. Now let's take a look at the games included and see what I have to say about them, huh? Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting. Legendary fighting game that revolutionized the industry. I already have the 30th anniversary collection on my PS4 that includes several versions of Street Fighter 2, so it's not a big deal to me personally that it's on here, since I can just play my PS4 to get my classic Street Fighter fix, but it's super important that it's on here for everyone else, plus it's nice that I can still hop on if I'm playing the Super Nintendo Classic with a buddy, and we just feel like playing a few matches in Street Fighter 2, right? I never played Street Fighter on the Super Nintendo, so it feels a bit weird to me personally. I grew up playing on the Genesis, so I associate to playing it more so on there, but of course I think it completes the package and the Super Nintendo Classic library wouldn't be the same without it.
You win!
Super Castlevania 4. Played some Symphony of the Night back like 10 years ago, didn't get super into it, I did like it, but I freaking love that soundtrack. All the Castlevanias have stellar music. Dawn of Sorrow and Portrait of Ruin were the ones that really got me into the series. I've never really played this particular game, or any of the classic non-Metroidvania type games. It's cool to see the weapons, items, and enemies that I played from the DS games go way back here. I like how Simon Belmont can go all nuts with the whip in all directions. Yeah! Only played a level or two on this one while I was recording it, and it is pretty fun. I'm definitely looking forward to trying to complete an old school Castlevania game for once. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Never played this game until I just tried it here on the Super Nintendo Classic. I have heard a boatload about it, particularly that it's a super hard game, and the people do not lie. This game was kicking my ass and it took a while just to beat the very first area, but eventually, with enough diligence, save states, I was finally able to beat the first level. Oh yeah. Not too crazy about how the jumping feels, but weapons and killing the cool looking monsters is satisfying. The graphics and overall presentation is really nice. Everything has a very distinct look, making it fun to explore the levels and see what's next. There is some slowdown here and there, and it is a little annoying. I'm definitely looking forward to playing more of this game, as it feels like a spiritual predecessor to Dark Souls or something. If not through the ghoulish medieval look, then definitely through the difficulty. Prepare to die! And use save states. Super Mario Kart! Another series I didn't know went this far back up until a few years ago, as I only played Mario Kart 64 and beyond. Feels pretty rudimentary here, but that's expected. Some of the visuals here just hurt to look at. Like, what is that, a sea of crap? Obviously not as fun as Mario Kart 64, well, at least not to me, but it's still cool and I'm glad this game is on this collection. Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars. And here's another game I've never played before. My experience with an RPG-style Mario game started with Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door on the GameCube, which was great. I also got into Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga for the Game Boy Advance, which was awesome too. These games had a great sense of humor, and the interactive turn-based battles were more fun than normal turn-based RPGs for me. I was actually pretty surprised that even this old one still had the cool button timing attacks and dodges that the subsequent games had, as this was actually the very first of the Mario-style RPGs. So it's in this weird isometric view, but I actually preferred top-down like Mario and Luigi, or side-scroller like Paper Mario, but I'm guessing it must have been pretty damn gnarly at the time. Seems like a decent game, but I just haven't gotten super into it yet. I'm gonna have to try it out for longer later on. Super Mario World! This is considered one of the best for the Super Nintendo, and I'm gonna have to agree. I had trouble putting this game down when I first opened the Super Nintendo Classic and plugged it in. I actually never ever finished any of the classic 2D Mario games in my life. I played the NES ones at friends' houses when I was little, and this one at in-store kiosks like Toys R Us back in the day, but nothing serious. When my brother bought a real Super Nintendo after I already had a Dreamcast, he got Super Mario All-Stars, which included this, and I had a little fun with it, but not much more, as I wasn't really feeling retro stuff back then. The most experience I have with this game was actually just editing the Super Mario World episode we did with Dark Assassin reviewing the game. Be sure to go check it out if you haven't already. There's some funny stuff. This is such a nice, colorful, cheerful game, man. So much finesse with level design, and the platforming feels so tight and responsive as what made the original Super Mario Bros. So popular. Definitely not as fun as classic Sonic games in my opinion, but still masterfully crafted. This is probably my favorite game on here so far, and I'm still not that far in it yet. It's just simple classic 2D platforming fun, perfect representation of Super Nintendo, Mario games, and this era in general. I'm definitely going to want to play some more of this bad boy. Super Metroid! Another game considered one of the best for the system. This was the other game that my brother got when he bought a Super Nintendo sometime in the early 2000s. I played it a tiny bit and found it kind of boring at the time, honestly. Keep in mind I was playing Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, Crazy Taxi and all that, so it was hard for me to get into these older games. But when GameCube came out and Metroid Prime was released and was getting crazy good reviews, I had to get it, and I really enjoyed it, and the sequel even more. I even played the 2D game Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance and loved it. So then I remember going back to this one after thinking I'd enjoy it more. For some reason I still couldn't get into it. Strangely enough, now that I was playing for a little while when I got this Super Nintendo Classic, I was actually digging it quite a bit. I don't know why I like it more now. Maybe I've just been craving some retro stuff, and now seeing it on my HD TV with clean visuals just got me more immersed than I thought it would. It's really an awesome, moody adventure game. Another great example of how far the fundamentals of a game go back. Exploration, puzzles, weapons, and the wonderful alien sci-fi atmosphere from the Prime series that I love are still here. Really craving to play some more. Super Punch-Out! I don't care much for boxing games, well, the serious ones at least, because I really enjoyed Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2 on the Dreamcast years back. Never played this game before, and I don't even know if I knew there was a Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo. I dinked around with the original NES one a bit, and even played some of Punch-Out for the Wii when I worked at Hollywood Video, as they had a display set up there. That one was pretty fun and all, but not enough for me to go out and buy it or anything like that. I guess I forgot how to play these games because I got my ass kicked by the very first guy several times before I even figured a few things out, and I had to keep hearing him making these weird noises and shit. The game itself actually looks really cool, nice and colorful, and the sprites of the boxes are huge, which is very different for a 16-bit game. Just like Ready to Rumble, I like how this game has very distinct boxers with their own look and unique style. Pretty fun game, and I can see why it should be on this collection. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Yet another game that was considered one of the best for the Super Nintendo. I actually have this for the Game Boy Advance and got it for Christmas in 2004 along with Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, as I was craving some more Zelda after playing Wind Waker back in the day. I found it to be enjoyable, and of course, like the other games, it was interesting to see all the elements that I came to know and love in Wind Waker to still be present here. I never finished it on the Game Boy Advance as I got stuck in one of the later dungeons and then found it hard to get back into. I also never played this on any TV before, so it's way more epic to play this on an HD TV now. I feel like this is how I should have played it rather than a tiny little Game Boy Advance screen. It feels like a totally different experience. One thing I don't like is that the sprites are way too damn small. Even on an HD TV, everything looks tiny, and for some reason it just annoys me a little. I don't mean poor emulation compared to the original or anything like that. I mean just how the game looks in general. It's not a big deal though. This game still kicks ass, and I need to give this a proper shot and actually try to finish it this time around. Epic series, a must play. Super Mario World Yoshis Island. Might have played a level or two on PC a while ago just to try it out. It seemed okay, but I just wasn't invested at the time. Quite a different art style and gameplay from Super Mario World, but I still find it fun and charming. Eating enemies and using them as eggs to throw at other enemies or objects is pretty cool. Although that crying Mario does when you get hit and he flies away in a bubble as you try to catch him before the counter reaches 0 is really annoying. Wah! 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 I'd say it's a good game, but won't be the first one to beat on this collection, that's for sure. Contra III: The Alien Wars. Never played this before, and I don't even remember if I ever even played a Contra game, honestly, which is weird since they did have one on the Genesis, and this is a really well-known series. I'm sure I've at least tried one of them at some point, but I just don't remember distinctly. Anyway, I just played this one with my buddy Albie to get the footage here, and man, this game is pretty fun. Total testosterone-driven action. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone teaming up to gun down everything in sight. The side-scrolling shooting, weapons, and platforming is fun, but the weird split-screen top-down view gameplay was jarring and awkward. So far, I didn't really like that part. I just kept saying, let's get back to the good stuff. Get to the chopper. Fun game, an easy one to come back to and pick up and play. Donkey Kong Country. Definitely played this one in stores and friends' houses back in the day, including at Dark Assassin's place a few years back. Didn't play a ton, but I knew it was a good game. I even got Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii several years ago. Never finished it, but played a good amount and found it to be really entertaining. It's great to finally be able to get more into it here. Not quite as fun as Super Mario World as a platformer, but this game has its own uniqueness, most notably in the visuals that really pushed the Super Nintendo back in the day. The graphics still look great, but the colors of that rain level kinda makes me sick. Ugh. Dude, one thing for sure is that the Donkey Kong Country games always have incredible underwater music. Like, damn. Earthbound. Didn't even know about Earthbound until I figured out where NES was from when playing Super Smash Bros. Melee on GameCube. Damn, Super Smash Bros. Brings back so much Nintendo history, doesn't it? Later on, I heard it was regarded as a classic, and getting the original Kart, and particularly the big box edition, was worth some pretty decent dough. I even tried this game out on PC a few years ago, thought it was kind of a charming RPG, but mostly forgot about it. But recently, I watched Angry Video Game Nerd's epic episode on it, and it seems like a totally off-the-wall game, with Ness and his friends going into different dimensions and all this crazy shit. He totally sold me on it. Even though I don't normally care for turn-based RPGs, I'd like to give this a proper shot, as I can see the story and characters really being something else here. I love the descriptions of one of your teammates during battle. It'll say that he hides behind you, thinks to himself, attempts to attack, and other useless actions during his turn. It's funny, and there's a lot of personality here in this one. I can see why it's so highly regarded. FZero. Never really played any of the FZero series before. Maybe a little bit of this one on PC a few years ago when I discovered that FZero went this far back. Pretty cool fast-paced futuristic racer. Nice to see how this series started, as the most FZero I was exposed to was from playing Captain Falcon in Super Smash Bros. Melee back in the GameCube. Great sense of speed here, nice music, and I recognize some of the tunes from Smash. Not super into racers, but I can see why this is regarded as a classic and approve that it's on here. Final Fantasy III. There's some confusion as to which Final Fantasy this is. It was released as Final Fantasy VI in Japan, but was named Final Fantasy III in North America because it was the third Final Fantasy game to be released here and they wanted to keep continuity. So it's Final Fantasy III, but it's actually Final Fantasy VI. You get it? No? Well, tough shit. Anyway, I've never played this before, and like I've already mentioned, I'm not that into turn-based RPGs. I did play a while into Final Fantasy VII, but nothing too serious. When I was playing this to capture footage, I was pretty intrigued, no lie. Like, I think that intro really did it for me. Those soldiers riding mechs across the snowy field back to town as the credits roll and this incredible music plays. I was seriously impressed. I thought it was epic as hell. It gave me goosebumps. I mean, what a way to start a game. I thought this was amazing now. Imagine what people thought back in the 90s. Damn. The game itself was pretty enjoyable once it started too. The story had my interest and I liked the steampunk look of the town and the mechs. It was cool seeing the different type of monsters you fight too. Even though those turn-based battles can be tedious sometimes, the stories, characters, music, and overall world is just really intriguing. I can see why people love the Final Fantasy series. I definitely gotta come back to this one. Kirby Superstar. My familiarity with Kirby lies solely with the Smash Brothers again. Even though I knew he had his own games, I just never played them. I was actually surprised how fun these games are when I was testing them out and getting footage. Kirby's abilities to suck up enemies and take their powers really create some fun and diverse gameplay options. Bright, colorful, and just straight up fun. I'm definitely coming back to play some more. This is dope. Kirby's Dream Course. So far, this is definitely my least favorite game on here. Not that it's bad or anything, I just didn't know a Kirby miniature golf game existed, let alone made it to this collection somehow. It's a fun little golf game, but I feel like they could have put something else on here in its stead. Oh well. Mega Man X. Considered by many the best and most classic Mega Man X game, of course they damn well better put this on here. Didn't play a whole lot of Mega Man in my life. I remember renting one of the X games for PS1 and enjoying it as well as playing this one at friends' houses when I was younger. I always thought Mega Man was cool, but I just didn't get that into him for whatever reason. Dark Assassin loves this game and Mega Man in general, and he did his take on it on one of our earlier reviews. Go check this one out too, it's one of his favorite Super Nintendo games. Even though I didn't play this one much at all, I did listen to the soundtrack, and yes, Mega Man has great music. That Storm Eagle theme is freaking hype. So this game being here on the collection is a great opportunity for me to get into the series and see what all the fuss is about. Let's go! Secret of Mana. I've heard this was supposed to be a classic for this system, but I never even saw what the gameplay looked like before. I've seen the cover many times and I always thought it looked intriguing with that incredibly lush forest. My girlfriend was watching me scroll through the games on this collection and even she was intrigued by it and told me to try that one out if I haven't yet, which I didn't. So I jumped in. I thought this was just going to be a typical turn-based RPG, but this actually is closer to Zelda as it's more of an action RPG. You can slice up enemies in the world in real time, just like Zelda, but here you still level up and have attributes like a typical RPG. It's a pretty cool game. I was getting pretty into it here while recording the gameplay. I like how the character moves around quickly and the sprites are much bigger than Zelda here. It's really nice. I very much want to play more of this one too. Starfox! I've played some Starfox 64, but I've never played the one where it all started. Pretty rudimentary 3D and looks quite dinky nowadays, but still really impressive for a Super Nintendo game. Of course, Starfox 64 is better overall, but I still had some fun here. This collection doesn't have any classic 2D style shooters unfortunately, so it's good that they at least have some Starfox action. Oh yeah. Starfox 2! As a special bonus, we get the never-before-released Starfox 2, which was cancelled back in the late years of the Super Nintendo because the Nintendo 64 was just coming out, and we ended up getting Starfox 64 instead as the next game in the series. It's a really cool bonus. This is more the same as the original, but you can choose more ships and characters, and there's a real-time strategy element with the map system as you choose where to do your battles. Cool, more Starfox action. So guys, my final thoughts on the Super Nintendo Classic. I'm really digging it so far, and I'm really glad I picked one up, especially now that I hear they're being discontinued. I totally recommend it for anyone who didn't grow up playing the Super Nintendo, but would love to see what they missed out on, like I did. Or people who had one growing up but no longer do, and would like to relive those nostalgic days. Or anyone that just wants to have an awesome time since it's loaded with absolute classics from the 16-bit era. Awesome piece of Nintendo and video game history. Just a lot of clean, simple fun here, just plug in and play. It's also apparently easy to hack, and you could put a bunch more games on it if you choose used to. I haven't added any games to mine, but I know there are a few classics people say that are missing, like Super Mario All-Stars, Turtles in Time, Chrono Trigger, Killer Instinct, and many more.
So guys, thanks for joining me on another episode. I've been really enjoying the Super Nintendo Classic. Great collection of games and a lot of potential to, hey, add some more if you wanted to. I think it's really cool and you guys should check it out. You guys let me know what you think of this Super Nintendo Classic Edition in the comments below. Let me know if you think it's stupid or if you guys got one yourself or you already have a Super Nintendo and you just don't care. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And so until the next time, guys, adios amigos.
Of course, it comes with 2 classic SNES controllers. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty tiny compared to this one. I mean, look, it's like a little baby. Just a little baby.
Oh, who's the cute little SNES Mini? Who's the cute one? Coochie coochie coo. Coochie coochie coo.
Oh, shit.
You're it. Get out of here.